Have you ever taken something that was supposed to help you, only to discover it was slowly hurting you from the inside out? John was 67, retired, lively. He loved early mornings, walking his dog, sipping black coffee, reading the newspaper before the world fully woke up. One morning, though, John never finished his walk. He collapsed just a few blocks from home. A neighbor found him. He had suffered a mild heart attack. But here's the twist. He had no major risk factors, no history of heart disease. He didn't smoke, ate reasonably well, and walked every day. So what happened? When doctors dug deeper, the culprit wasn't cholesterol. It wasn't stress. It was a small, white pill, a common cold, an allergy medication he'd been using every spring and fall for the past 10 years. That pill, taken casually and over time, had quietly elevated his blood pressure and strained his heart until his body gave out. Now here's the part that should concern all of us. John is not alone. Over 800,000 Americans have heart attacks every year. And while diet, age, and stress are often blamed, a growing number of studies point to something far more surprising: medications. Medications we trust. Medications we've taken for years. Even medications our doctors once told us were safe. Could something in your medicine cabinet be silently raising your risk of a heart attack? Are you unknowingly putting your heart under daily stress just by treating your allergies, your pain, your mood? In this video, we're diving into 8 medications backed by real medical research that have been linked to increased heart risks even when used properly. But don't worry, this isn't about fear. It's about knowledge, awareness, empowerment. Because when you understand the risks, you can make better choices, safer choices, and have smarter conversations with your doctor. You don't have to stop all your meds. You just need to know which ones to question and what to ask. Let's begin with the most common medication on the list: NSAIDs, the painkillers you probably have in your kitchen drawer right now. Have you ever had a stiff back, a sore knee, or a splitting headache and thought, "Let me just take an Advil and get on with my day"? We all have, because NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, are everywhere. They sit quietly in our medicine cabinets. We don't think twice about them. Ibuprofen, naproxen, Motrin, Aleve, they promise relief, and often they deliver it. But what if I told you that a week of using NSAIDs, yes, just 7 days, could increase your risk of a heart attack by 20 to 50%. That's not a theory. That's a real finding from a 2017 study published in the British Medical Journal. Let me tell you about Grace. She's 72, active, and loves gardening. Her knees ache sometimes after long hours outside, so she began taking ibuprofen every morning. Just to take the edge off, she said. 3 months later, she was in the ER with tightness in her chest. Diagnosis: early signs of cardiac stress. Her blood pressure had been quietly rising for weeks. No one suspected her harmless morning pill until her cardiologist did. So what exactly do NSAIDs do that puts your heart at risk? They interfere with prostaglandins, hormone-like compounds that help regulate blood flow and keep your blood vessels flexible. When you suppress them, your blood vessels constrict, your body starts retaining fluid, and your blood pressure rises. That might not seem like much, but over time, this creates a perfect storm for heart strain, clots, and eventually a heart attack. Even short-term use can raise your risk, especially if you already have high blood pressure, heart disease, or even a family history of cardiovascular issues. So what exactly do NSAIDs do that puts your heart at risk? They interfere with prostaglandins, hormone-like compounds that help regulate blood flow and keep your blood vessels flexible. When you suppress them, your blood vessels constrict. Your body starts retaining fluid, and your blood pressure rises. That might not seem like much, but over time, this creates a perfect storm for heart strain, clots, and eventually a heart attack. Even short-term use can raise your risk, especially if you already have high blood pressure, heart disease, or even a family history of cardiovascular issues. This doesn't mean you should never take an NSAID again, but it does mean we need to use them with caution, not casual comfort. So what can you do instead? Use the lowest dose for the shortest time possible. Consider alternatives like acetaminophen, Tylenol, which doesn't impact heart function the same way. Explore natural anti-inflammatories like turmeric, ginger, or omega-3s. And most importantly, talk to your doctor, especially if you find yourself reaching for pain pills daily. Sometimes the things that bring us relief carry hidden risks, and NSAIDs aren't the only ones. Next, we'll talk about a category of medication that's helped millions feel emotionally better, but might be quietly disrupting the rhythm of your heart. Stay with me as we explore the hidden cardiac risks of antidepressants. What do you do when your heart feels heavy, not from cholesterol, but from sadness? For millions of Americans, the answer is antidepressants. SSRIs and SNRIs, names like Prozac, Zoloft, Lexapro, Effexor, they've helped people climb out of the darkest places. They've saved lives, restored marriages, kept families together. But here's a hard truth most people never hear. While these medications can lift your spirit, they might quietly strain your actual heart. Meet Susan. She's 63, a retired school teacher, and the kind of woman who still sends handwritten birthday cards. After her husband passed, she slipped into a deep depression. Her doctor prescribed a common SSRI. Within weeks, her mind felt clearer. But not long after, she began noticing something new, a strange flutter in her chest, moments of dizziness when standing, and once, a brief blackout while gardening. At first, she thought it was just grief, but her cardiologist thought otherwise. SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and SNRIs, serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, work by adjusting the levels of key neurotransmitters in the brain, like serotonin and norepinephrine, to improve mood. But these same neurotransmitters also influence the heart. Studies, including one published in JAMA Psychiatry, have shown that some antidepressants can disrupt heart rhythm, especially in older adults, lead to QT prolongation, which can cause arrhythmias, increase blood pressure, particularly with SNRIs, and reduce platelet aggregation, which raises the risk of bleeding and hemorrhagic stroke. For someone already living with high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, or other heart conditions, this can tip the balance in the wrong direction. This doesn't mean these medications are bad. In fact, for many, they're life-saving. But if your heart is already working harder than it should, shouldn't your treatment plan include protecting it too? So what can you do? Never stop an antidepressant abruptly. That can be dangerous. Talk to your doctor about getting an EKG before and during treatment. If you're at risk, ask whether a lower-risk antidepressant or non-medication therapy like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, or guided exercise could support your mental health. Watch for symptoms like irregular heartbeat, shortness of breath, chest fluttering, or sudden fatigue. Remember, taking care of your emotional heart should never cost you your physical one. Mental health matters deeply, but so does staying here. Longer, healthier, stronger. And next, we'll talk about something even more ironic. Heart medications. Yes, the very drugs prescribed to protect your heart that may actually increase your risk of a heart attack, especially when used long-term. Let's talk about calcium channel blockers and why your heart might be working harder than you realize. What if the medication meant to protect your heart was quietly putting it in danger instead? It sounds like a contradiction, but for millions of people taking calcium channel blockers, it's a possibility worth taking seriously. Let's talk about Harold. He's 70, a retired firefighter, strong, stoic, the kind of man who never complained. A decade ago, his doctor put him on a blood pressure medication, amlodipine. Safe, common, effective, the pharmacist said, and for years it seemed to work. His numbers looked good. He felt okay. But then he began waking up with swollen ankles, climbing stairs, felt harder. One day, while mowing the lawn, he felt a sudden wave of dizziness and blacked out. When he came to, he was in the ER. His blood pressure had dropped dangerously low, and his heart rhythm all over the place. Calcium channel blockers, like amlodipine, verapamil, diltiazem, are prescribed to treat high blood pressure, chest pain, and certain heart rhythm disorders. They work by relaxing the blood vessels, reducing the heart's workload. Sounds helpful, right? But here's the paradox. In high doses, or with long-term use, these drugs can cause fluid retention, leading to swelling, especially in the legs and ankles. Lower blood pressure too much, resulting in dizziness or fainting. Interfere with the heart's natural rhythm, increasing risk of arrhythmias. In rare cases, weaken the heart muscle itself, a condition called heart failure. One large study published in Circulation found that short-acting calcium channel blockers were linked to a 25% higher risk of heart attack in some patients. The heartbreaking truth? Many people never connect the dots between their symptoms and their medication. They think, I'm just getting older. But sometimes, it's not age, it's chemistry. So, what should you do? Know what you're taking. Don't just remember the name. Understand what it does. If you're experiencing swelling, fatigue, irregular heartbeat, or dizziness, tell your doctor. Ask about alternatives. Sometimes a switch to an ACE inhibitor or a beta blocker makes all the difference. And never adjust or stop heart medication without medical guidance. Because managing your heart means managing your medication too, not blindly trusting the bottle. But calcium channel blockers aren't the only medications with unintended consequences. Up next, a drug designed to help people with diabetes. One that may have caused more heart attacks than it ever prevented. Let's talk about the diabetes drug dilemma and what you need to know. What if the drug keeping your blood sugar in check was quietly placing your heart in danger? Managing type 2 diabetes is a lifelong journey, and for many, that journey begins with trust. Trust in your doctor. Trust in the medication. Trust that you're doing what's best. But sometimes, what used to be best no longer is. Meet Patricia. She's 66, a former nurse, a proud grandmother of 6. When she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, she was determined to take control. Her doctor prescribed a medication called rosiglitazone, sold under the name Avandia. It helped her numbers. Her A1C dropped. Everything looked good, on paper. But 3 years in, she began experiencing shortness of breath after climbing the stairs. She gained weight, not from cookies, but from something she couldn't explain. And one night she woke with chest pain that felt like a belt tightening around her ribs. It was a heart attack. Rosiglitazone belongs to a class of diabetes drugs called thiazolidinediones, TZDs. They were once considered revolutionary, improving insulin sensitivity, helping control blood sugar. But in 2007, a groundbreaking study published in the New England Journal of Medicine revealed the dark side. Patients on rosiglitazone had a 43% higher risk of heart attack and a 64% increased risk of cardiovascular death. Why? TZDs, like rosiglitazone, can cause fluid retention, which places extra stress on the heart, weight gain, especially around the abdomen, elevated blood pressure, leading to a higher risk of heart failure or cardiac events. So while your blood sugar might improve, your heart could be slowly failing behind the scenes. The people most at risk? Older adults, those with existing heart conditions, or those unknowingly taking these drugs for years without re-evaluation. Even though restrictions on Avandia have since been lifted in part, the lingering question remains: why risk it when safer options exist? Here's what you can do. Check your medications. If you're on rosiglitazone or another TZD, ask your doctor about alternatives. Consider newer, heart-friendlier options like metformin, still a gold standard, SGLT2 inhibitors, which actually protect the heart and kidneys, GLP-1 receptor agonists, which help control blood sugar and reduce cardiovascular risk. Pair medication with lifestyle tools, a balanced plant-forward diet, daily movement, sleep hygiene, and stress management. Because diabetes is a full-body condition, and your heart is one of its most vulnerable targets. But diabetes drugs aren't the only everyday medications with unintended effects. Some of the most common cold and allergy meds, the ones you grab off the shelf when your nose runs, can do far more than clear your sinuses. In fact, they could be putting dangerous pressure on your heart. Let's talk about decongestants and why that quick fix may carry a hidden cost. It's a chilly winter morning. Your nose is stuffed, your throat's and you just want to feel normal again. So, like millions of others, you open your cabinet and reach for that little red pill that promises fast relief. You don't even think twice. It's over the counter. It's safe, right? But what if that decongestant, the one that helps you breathe easier, was also putting your heart under pressure? This is exactly what happened to Michael. He was 62, recently retired, loved camping, hiking, and visiting his grandkids every Sunday. During allergy season, he often took pseudoephedrine, a common decongestant. It cleared his sinuses and let him get on with his day. But over time, something changed. He started feeling jittery. His heart would race after just walking to the mailbox. And one day, while resting in his recliner, his chest began to tighten, and the world started spinning. He was rushed to the ER, where doctors discovered an abnormal heart rhythm and dangerously high blood pressure. The cause? A steady, almost invisible accumulation of stress on his heart, from a medication he thought was harmless. Decongestants like pseudoephedrine and phenylephrine work by constricting blood vessels in the nose to reduce swelling, helping you breathe. But here's the problem. They don't just target the nose. They constrict blood vessels throughout your body, raising blood pressure, heart rate, and the risk of arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats. For people with hypertension, heart disease, or a history of stroke, this effect can be dangerous, even deadly. A study in the American Journal of Medicine showed that pseudoephedrine can significantly raise blood pressure and increase the risk of heart attacks, particularly in vulnerable individuals. And here's the scary part. These medications are everywhere, in cold remedies, allergy pills, even multi-symptom nighttime tablets. Many people don't even know they're taking them, especially if they don't read the label, or if they assume OTC means risk-free. So what can you do? If you have high blood pressure, heart disease, or are over 60, avoid decongestants unless directed by your doctor. Look for safer options. Steam inhalation, saline nasal sprays, antihistamines if your congestion is allergy-related, the natural remedies like eucalyptus oil, ginger, or warm fluids. And always check the active ingredients, especially in combo products. Relief shouldn't come at the cost of your heart. So next time you're battling a cold or allergies, ask, is this just helping me breathe? Or is it making my heart fight harder? Choose wisely, because even something small, like a cold pill, can have big consequences. And speaking of serious consequences, imagine fighting cancer and surviving, only to find out that the very treatment saving your life could also weaken your heart. Up next, the cardiac dangers of certain chemotherapy drugs, and what every patient and family member needs to know. What if the treatment that saves your life also weakens the very organ keeping you alive? It's a heartbreaking irony. You fight cancer and win. You celebrate the end of chemo, the final scan, the long-awaited word, remission. But months or even years later, you begin to feel something strange. A flutter, a shortness of breath, fatigue that won't go away, and no one tells you. It could be your heart quietly carrying the cost of the cure. Let me introduce you to Elena. She was 59 when diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. She was strong, optimistic, determined to beat it. Her doctors prescribed an aggressive but common chemotherapy regimen, including a drug called doxorubicin. It worked. The tumor shrank. She rang the bell. She lived. But a year later, during a walk around her block, she suddenly couldn't catch her breath. Her legs swelled. Her heartbeat felt heavy in her chest. The diagnosis? Chemo-induced cardiomyopathy, a weakened heart muscle. Her heart, once strong, now struggled to pump blood efficiently. The chemo had saved her life, but damaged her heart. Certain chemotherapy drugs, especially doxorubicin, adriamycin, 5-fluorouracil, 5-FU, and other anthracyclines are known to be cardiotoxic. Here's how. They can create free radicals that damage heart cells, cause inflammation and scarring in heart tissue, or trigger coronary spasms, reducing blood flow and increasing heart attack risk. According to a study published in JCC, Cardio-Oncology, doxorubicin can lead to heart failure in up to 26% of patients at high doses, especially in older adults or those with prior heart conditions. And most people have no idea this is even happening. They assume the fatigue is age, the breathlessness is weight gain, the chest pain is anxiety, but it's not. It could be chemotherapy's silent footprint on the muscle that never stops working. So, what can be done? If you're receiving or have received chemotherapy, ask your doctor about heart monitoring regular echocardiograms, checking BNP or troponin levels for early signs of stress. Discuss protective options like dexrazoxane, which may shield the heart during treatment. Maintain a heart-healthy lifestyle throughout and after chemo, balanced diet, moderate movement as tolerated, stress management, and smoking cessation. Most importantly, listen to your body. What feels minor may be your heart asking for help. But it's not just chemo or cold meds. There's another group of drugs, often used to boost strength, energy, or performance, that may be silently clogging your arteries and thickening your blood. Up next, the truth about testosterone and anabolic steroids and why feeling stronger could come at a dangerous price. What if chasing strength was quietly stealing your heart's strength? We all want to feel younger, more energy, more confidence, more control. And for many men over 50, that desire leads to one thing: testosterone therapy. It promises renewed vitality, like turning back the clock. But sometimes it turns back more than just time. It pushes your heart to the edge. Take Roger, for example. He was 58, divorced, and had recently joined a gym, trying to get back in shape and feel like himself again. A buddy at the gym told him about a low-T clinic. "Totally normal," he said. "Just get your levels checked. They'll fix you right up." Roger started testosterone injections, and at first it felt like a miracle. His energy skyrocketed. He built muscle faster than ever. Even his mood improved. But 3 months in, he started waking up with pounding heartbeats. He felt pressure in his chest during workouts, and one day, while carrying groceries up the stairs, he collapsed. Doctors found a massive blood clot, and his cholesterol had gone out of balance without him even knowing. Testosterone therapy, especially when not carefully monitored, can pose real risks to your cardiovascular system. Here's why. It raises red blood cell counts, thickening the blood and increasing clot risk. It can raise LDL, bad cholesterol, and lower HDL, good cholesterol. It may promote plaque buildup in arteries, leading to heart attacks or strokes. A study published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that men who started testosterone therapy had a 30% increased risk of heart attack and stroke within just 3 months, especially those over 65 or with a history of heart disease. And when it comes to anabolic steroids used by bodybuilders or younger men seeking fast results, the dangers are even greater. Heart muscle thickening, left ventricular hypertrophy, irregular rhythms, and in some cases, sudden cardiac death. The pursuit of strength is not wrong. But when that pursuit turns into shortcut injections and unmonitored hormone boosts, it becomes a trap. And the price? Not just your heart, but your future. So what's the alternative? Get tested, but only take testosterone if you truly need it and under careful supervision. Avoid anabolic steroids entirely. They may build muscle, but they break your foundation. Focus on natural testosterone support, resistance training, healthy fats like avocado and olive oil, deep sleep, stress reduction. Remember, strength isn't about what you lift. It's about how long you can carry the life you love. And testosterone isn't the only surprise in your medicine cabinet. There's one more category we need to talk about: acid reflux pills. Medications millions take every night before bed. That might just be stiffening your arteries while you sleep. Up next, the hidden danger of heartburn drugs and how they could be hurting the very organ they're supposed to protect. What if the pill that helps you sleep peacefully was quietly hardening your arteries overnight? Millions of Americans pop a little purple pill before bed. Proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs like Nexium, Prilosec, Prevacid. They stop the burn. They let you enjoy your spaghetti, your coffee, your late-night snack, without the fire in your chest that keeps you awake. But what if that relief comes with a hidden cost? Meet Carol. She's 65, warm-hearted, and always the one bringing pies to family dinners. Years ago, she started taking omeprazole for acid reflux. At first, it felt like magic. The heartburn vanished, so she kept taking it, day after day, year after year, until one afternoon she fainted while walking her dog. Tests revealed her magnesium levels were dangerously low, and her arteries were stiffer than expected for her age. She had no idea the medicine she'd trusted was playing a part in it. Proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, reduce stomach acid by blocking the enzyme that produces it. They're incredibly effective, but when used long-term, they can cause unexpected problems. A major study from Stanford University, analyzing medical records of over 3 million people, found that PPI users had a 16% to 21% increased risk of heart attacks, even in people with no prior heart disease. Why? PPIs may reduce nitric oxide production, a compound that helps blood vessels stay relaxed and flexible. Without it, arteries stiffen, raising blood pressure and heart attack risk. They can also lead to magnesium deficiency, which contributes to arrhythmias, muscle weakness, and fatigue. And in some cases, they may reduce calcium absorption, potentially weakening bones and heart function. Now here's the thing. PPIs aren't evil. They can be a lifesaver during an ulcer or a bad reflux flare. But like many medications, they were never meant to be taken forever. And yet, millions do. Out of habit, out of fear, out of the simple desire to eat in peace. But peace today shouldn't mean problems tomorrow. So what can you do? First, talk to your doctor. If you've been taking a PPI for more than 8 to 12 weeks, ask whether it's still necessary. Consider alternatives, OH2 blockers like Pepcid, or dietary changes. Avoid late-night meals, greasy or spicy foods, or natural remedies. Ginger tea, aloe vera, probiotics. Elevate your head when sleeping. Keep a food diary to track triggers. And most importantly, don't quit cold turkey. Rebound acid is real. Wean off slowly, with guidance. Carol made the change. She switched to milder options, adjusted her diet, and felt better, not just in her gut, but in her energy, her balance, and her breath. Because sometimes the smallest habits carry the biggest weight on your heart. We've now walked through 9 everyday medications, each with the power to heal or to harm. But the question remains, how do you protect your heart without giving up the treatments you need? In the final segment, we'll tie it all together and share a simple framework for safer, smarter medication use, so you can live longer, feel stronger, and trust the choices you make. How do you protect your heart without living in fear of every pill, every meal, every breath? It's a question many of us quietly carry as we age, because we've worked hard for our families, our homes, our place in the world. And now we just want to enjoy life, to be present, to be healthy, to last. But today, you've heard stories about medications that were meant to help, but sometimes hurt. And maybe you're wondering, should I be afraid of everything in my cabinet? Is my heart in danger right now? Let's pause, take a deep breath, and talk about how to move forward with strength, not fear. A few years ago, a viewer named Bill 72, a widower, a grandfather, emailed me after a similar video. He wrote, "I watched your video and cried, not because I was scared, but because I finally felt like someone was explaining things to me, like a son would to his dad." Bill didn't throw out all his meds. He didn't panic. He made a list, scheduled a checkup, talked to his doctor, asked better questions, and made smarter decisions, one step at a time. Today, Bill still takes a few medications, but he also walks 30 minutes a day, cooks with olive oil, and laughs more with his grandkids than ever before. That's not fear, that's freedom. Here's what I want you to take away from this video. Medications can save lives, but they're not perfect. Awareness is your best defense. You have a voice in your own care. Small changes, like asking questions, reading labels, or choosing fresh food, can lead to giant leaps in your health. And your heart deserves to be protected, gently, wisely, fully. So ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do today to take care of my heart? With intention, not fear. Maybe it's checking a label. Maybe it's walking for 15 minutes. Maybe it's calling your doctor and saying, "I'd like to talk about my medications." Whatever it is, start. Because your life matters. Your heart matters. And the people who love you, they need you here, strong, clear, alive. If this video helped you, even in a small way, please share it with someone you care about. It could change a life, maybe even save one. And don't forget to subscribe for more trusted, science-backed, heart-centered health content made for people like you. Until next time, stay informed, stay strong, and take care of that beautiful heart of yours.